Celebrity Karen. So I'm a builder. I primarily do high-end custom homes, 1 to 4 million price range. I'm a female, which is not common in the industry, but I really love what I do, and I am fairly decent at what I do. In the past, my projects were primarily in rural areas on large ranches, but this particular project is in the middle of a large city, which means there are neighbors in close proximity, which is something new for me to deal with. The neighbors around this area are some of the worst entitled, nasty people you can imagine, and one of them is a celebrity and his wife. We will call her Barbara, who is also well known. I haven't personally had too much interaction with the couple. When Barbara goes walking every morning, I smiled and waved, which I do with everyone because this is Texas, y'all. And she would always ignore me, which honestly is whatever. I'm not going to stop being kind because she's unfriendly. I honestly just started ignoring her. My job site has been really busy the last year, and most of my subs park alongside the street in front of the house. We all park on one side facing the proper flow of traffic. If someone happens to park on the other side of the street, the neighbors call the cops or the city building official. I find this incredibly annoying and childish, but whatever. I have my guys move and it's not a big deal. That being said, I stop by my project every morning to line my guys out and check on work that has been done, make my list, etc. Most of the time, I park on the very right side of Barbara's property, which is just to the left of my project's construction drive, so my guys have parking in front of the project house. I am not there long, usually 2-3 hours. One day I was outside the house and a woman approached me. I wasn't sure who she was, but apparently it was Barbara's maid. She informed me that I needed to move my car, which was on the correct side of public street, or Barbara was going to call the cops. I looked at her and said there was nothing wrong with me parking there. The maid then proceeded to tell me that Barbara was going to charge me $500 a day for parking in front of her house. I laughed and told the maid I didn't know they were that hard up that they needed to change a parking fee for using the public street. I went ahead and called the police to get ahead of the situation. He informed me there wasn't anything Barbara could do about me parking in front of her property, which I knew, but I could get a ticket for parking within 15 feet of fire hydrant, which is on the property line between my project and Barbara's house. The office informed me that I needed to be 15 feet away from the hydrant. I thanked him and he left. So I did end up moving my car. I took my measuring tape and measured out 15 feet, which put my almost smack in front of Barbara's house. I decided to park in front of her front sidewalk for 2 weeks after that. Every time she does something rude to me on the street, which happens more than I prefer, I park in front of her house just to piss her off. Honestly, if she had just come to me in the beginning and asked me nicely not to park in front of her house, I probably would have never again unless absolutely necessary. But the fact that she was okay sending her help to threaten me really pissed me off. Am I the butthole for keeping this going? I don't like when people think like they are above you because they're well off. I know billionaires that have better manners than this chick. Oh, I've said Barbara so many times that the only thing I have in my head now is abracadabra, da-da-da-da-da. But as for this post, I love it. Barbara, from this story, not the rhubarb Barbara, can go to heck. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. You want me to be more socially active? Got it! I'm from an Asian country and I have been living in a foreign country for some time and purchased my home here a few years ago. My hobby is play computer games and watch TV shows, and I've spent decent amount of money to set up my home for it. I have the fastest internet plan, subscription to all major streaming services, etc. My daily life is work, grocery shopping, home gaming, every single day. My parents came at the beginning of the year to live with me as they want to experience the foreign life. They were disappointed that they found out their son does not have an active social life here and spent all his free time at home gaming. They tried to make me more socially active by telling me what events are happening that I can go to and how they've been going out every day and made lots of new friends. Well, not really. I know they only go to 2 places: the shopping center for grocery or local community center where there are a bunch of retired people from our home country. My parents don't speak English. I don't even think they know how to use public transport here. Telling me to go out and socialize has become the topic of our dinner talk every night, and the tension, especially between me and my dad, has become more and more hostile. One night when they mentioned it again, I decided I've had enough. So I started to be more socially active by staying at an internet cafe until 11:30 p.m. every day. I also canceled the internet at home. They found out the internet is not working at home and notified me. I acknowledged it. They asked me, when is the internet coming back? I said it's not coming back. What? Why? Because I am socializing every day. When I come home, I go to bed right away. When I wake up, I either go to work or go out socializing. I barely use internet at home, so why do I need it? 2 weeks later, mom tells me that they are going back home. I understand that OP is an adult person, that it's his home, but I still cannot shake off the unpleasant vibe. They are still your parents. You cannot just turn off the internet and basically tell them to F off. Please save your questions for later, so you get credit for them. Or do as you want, I guess. This happened while I was in middle school at a certain math tournament called Math Battle. To tell the story, I need to first explain the rules. I'll try to do this as briefly as possible. The rules are similar to other math tournaments with 2 main features. First, it's a team competition and every battle goes between 2 teams. Second, every solution has to be presented by a speaker and refuted by an opponent from the other team. To get points as a speaker, you present your solution. To get them as an opponent, you refute the corrections of speaker's points by spotting mistakes in their solution and getting points for these mistakes instead of the speaker. When the speaker is done presenting, they have to say "presentation over." This is to avoid any confusion and interruption from the opponent, as any mistake noted before these words can be spotted by the speaker are fixed on the spot, thus giving no points to the opponent. Overall, the points distribution is managed by the judge. As this is a team competition, there are rules that prohibit players from being in the same role more than twice. Because of this, our captain decided to delegate presentation of extra problem they solved to me. They explained the solution to me, I got about half of that, and sent me on my way to the blackboard. At this stage, the solution barely holds, and the opponent sees that. When I start making mistakes, they interrupt my presentation to point that out. As I am aware of the rules, I try to notify them. Please save your questions for after the presentation is over. This helps a bit, though only a bit. The second I misplace a digit, I hear another correction. Please save your questions for after the presentation is over. At one point, it becomes really irritating, as it's hard to present a solution when you barely understand it and there is someone constantly noticing the mistakes. When I'm almost done presenting the solution, now as full of holes as Swiss cheese, I take about 3 seconds to catch my breath and try to say "presentation over," when at that perfect moment when I open my mouth, they interrupt me again. Cue malicious compliance. Instead of finishing what I tried to say, separating the section when speaker gets points from the section when opponent gets points, I decide to stand back and watch. The opponent obliterates my solution, telling me why it does not work and the way it should have been solved. Instead of arguing, I simply say, "You're right, that's how you're supposed to do it, thank you." And when they're done, they indicate the end of their rebuttal by saying, "I agree with the solution to the problem after corrections made." At which point I interrupt them with, "Oh yeah, presentation over, you may ask your questions now." Not getting what I was implying, the opponent finished their rebuttal and returned to their team. Now is the time the judge distributes the points. Judge: okay, the corrections made by opposition are significant, thus worth me. I'm sorry, but all the corrections from the opposition were made during the presentation. There is a brief silence in the room. Judge: Oh, you're right. All points go to the speaker. The most precious moments where we were heard the captain of the other team scolding my opponent for their impatience. We won that battle, sadly not thanks to that maneuver, though it was the highlight of the game. I really like this comment here saying, never stand in the way of your opponents when they start screwing up. Indeed! I want it like this. I'm the boss. You do it how I say. Sure. For context, I work in flooring installation, commercial mostly, usually carpet or vinyl tiles. Have been doing this for 10 years now. I got a work order to do a head office for a large developer. It was carpet tile but with a pattern, lines and border. I start installing and just as I get the first tiles out, after laying the glue, the big boss comes out. He says I'm doing it wrong. I was absolutely stunned. I looked at him, looked back at the tiles I had just put down, looked at him again and asked, "What?" "Those numbers on the back of the tile are the sequence order. You need to follow the numbers," he replied. What he's talking about are God knows what. Part numbers, serial numbers, lot numbers. They have nothing to do with installation, so if I actually followed whatever he was saying, it would look like a mess, not the intended pattern. I tried explaining this to him, but he wouldn't hear it. He got frustrated and called the head office, who in turn called me and said just to do it how he wants it. So I did. As I'm finishing up, he comes back, takes one look at it and says, "I don't like it." I smiled and said, "I don't care. That's how you wanted it." Packed my stuff up and left. He didn't say another word to me. Few days later, I hear that he called the head office asking for someone else to come redo it the way I had originally intended to install it. So the office sent me again and I got paid to remove the work that I just got paid to install, so I can get paid to install it again. Needless to say that he didn't come out to make small talk the second time. Well, I guess not only a poor man pays twice, but also a grumpy man with his head in his butt also pays twice. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can also watch that awesome video or this awesome playlist. See you next time!